So what you do is, instead of concentrating on just anything, you put your concentration and your wisdom, your special insight together. So then you're concentrating on wisdom. And then this particular wisdom, which is able to discern correctly the object of analysis. So then what is the object of analysis? It could be the self, me. So this body-mind continuum. So with concentration, then you hold your mind on the object, which is, I'm looking for the self. I'm looking for me. I think me exists, self exists, but I want to find it. So a simple example of this would be, start at the toes. Am I my toes? Right? So just start there. Am I my toes? You're doing this in your mind. So you put your mind on your toes. Am I the toes? Am I my feet? No. Ankles? No. This is good to do when you want to go to sleep too. Lower leg. Am I my lower legs? No. Knees? No. Here. Thighs? No. And you keep working up. And maybe when you get round here, you feel, I think I'm somewhere in here. I feel here. So, okay, am I my heart? I could be my heart, right? And then you think, yes, but if I took my heart out and put somebody else's heart in, would I be them and not me? If we transfer the heart, would I be me or them? So we have to think about that. So am I my heart? Is that me? Maybe not sure, okay? So we put the not sure to one side. Don't say immediately, no, I'm not my heart, because it's possible I am my heart. Am I my arms? Am I the shoulders? Am I the neck? Am I the head? And very important, am I the brain? So do I feel myself? I is the brain. Is that what it is? So when you're using your concentration to analyze the object, you hold your mind on the object, analyzing to look for the self, looking within the body. Such a nice lady. And not sure if you find it. Do you find it or not? If you're emotional, you find it. If you're angry, you're jealous, you have hatred, you find the self. You don't need to look so much. You find it quite easily. There's a definite appearance of the self within the body, and it's usually around the stomach area or the heart area. You will find the self. It appears as something solid and real and independent. But when we were looking in a calm time, a peaceful time, and we're looking for the self, can't quite find it. Not quite sure if it is the heart, if it is the brain, not quite sure where it is. So this is important information for us, because when we're not emotional, there appears to not be a self. And when we're in an emotional state, there is a self. It appears. So according to causes and conditions, there is an appearance of a self. Appearance, like a rainbow, like a mirage. Because of causes and conditions, there's an appearance. But does it really exist? If it really existed, why isn't it there when I'm meditating in a calm state? Why is it suddenly there when I'm emotional and not there when I'm not emotional? Why? And one of the answers could be that the emotion provides a condition for the self to appear. It provides a condition. Like rain, like sun, it's one of the conditions. So if the self appears because of conditions, does the self appear independently? Independent of conditions? It can't, because of the conditions it's appearing. Do you understand? So because of the conditions it's appearing, without the conditions it's not appearing. So is it independent? No. Is it inherent, existing without causes and conditions? No. It exists because of causes and conditions. So what are those causes and conditions? One of them is ignorance, believing the self to exist. Independently, inherently, we believe in that self. We don't believe that it arises because of causes and conditions. We think the self exists. So we need to analyze with special insight, how does it exist? Because conventionally it exists as a label on your base, body, as a label on the base, Cesar, whatever the name is, it's okay. But more than that, does it exist? Conventionally. So for instance, we'll take Anna as an example. Here we go. Anna has a label on a base. If Anna was really Anna, not labeled Anna, but really Anna, when she came out of her mother, everybody would have said, oh, it's Anna. Not deciding the name, but it's virtually Anna's name is imprinted into the body, inseparable from Anna, right? So then, when Anna dies, next life Anna would be Anna. Anna would always be Anna. If Anna is inherent, without causes and conditions, Anna would die, but she couldn't die. And then Anna would be reborn, but she couldn't be reborn, because inherent means without causes and conditions. But say we take the crazy assumption that Anna could be reborn, she'd come out of her mother this size. She wouldn't age. She wouldn't get sick. She wouldn't die, because inherent means can't change. So do we change or not? Of course we do, because we were born. We've aged from that time. We are changing. Moment to moment we are changing. So the self is something conventional that we work with, because I have to be able to say Anna, right? But if we keep changing the label constantly, now she's Anna, the next minute she's Pablo, the next minute she's John, the next minute she's Mary. We don't have any fixed labels, we don't have any convention. Imagine how crazy everything would be. I wouldn't be able to say Anna, I'd be giving her a different label all the time. It wouldn't work. So these labels exist for convenience, for convention, right? But we start to believe in the label. Now if I ask Anna, who are you? Anna will say, I'm Anna. So who's Anna? I'm the most beautiful woman in the world. Right? I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. I know who I am. So that appears to come from the self. That something that exists is manifesting in a physical way and in a mental way, an emotional way. It's coming from the self. But Buddhism says, so where is that self? If it exists, you should be able to find it. You look inside, you can't find it. And yet it appears to exist. Can't find it, and yet it appears to exist. So there is a conventional self, right? But when you analyze it, can't find it. So they're the two selves. It appears to exist, that's the convention. But when you analyze with wisdom, it ceases to exist, it disappears, because the self is the opposite to wisdom. The self is ignorance, and wisdom is the opposite. So when you analyze with special insight and concentration, you remove the self. And then you can ask, but why? But why do we want to remove the self? Because that negative self promotes negative actions. The positive self is not a problem. We leave that one alone. Please. You know, the loving self, the kind self, leave it alone. Don't destroy that one. But the negative one that says, I don't like, I hate, you know, like this, don't you want to remove it? Of course you do. So then we need this type of analysis to cut the root of this self. It has misinformation, wrong information. It thinks it exists, but actually doesn't exist at all. And what we replace it with is motivation. We replace it with compassion, love, kindness, patience, all the qualities we're talking about. We replace that negative self with all the positives. So you still move, you still do things, but you're doing them for the right reasons, in the right way, rather than being destructive and being negative. So I think now is a very good time for a tea break, before you have nervous breakdown, before the steam starts coming out of your heads. So think about it. I know this is difficult, but think about it. That when you're leaving this room, you think, I am leaving the room. Where is that I leaving the room? When you're having a cup of tea or coffee, I'm drinking tea or coffee. It's interesting, because one minute the I is walking, the next minute the I is drinking. So it seems like you have an I which multifunctions. Right? One in the feet, one in the throat, one thinking. Are you many or one? Think about it. You know, are you many or one? Do you have many eyes or one eye? If you have many eyes, you're in trouble. It's an interesting question, isn't it? Because as we've been talking, we have labels. And good and negative, positive, negative, neutral. So where does that come from? The mind of discrimination. The mind that says from its own side, on the basis of form, color, I am saying it is like this. So is it like that? If I say this is good, this is bad, just conventionally, there is that good and bad. So the good label we can place from our mind based on previous positive karma, and then projecting out, this is good. Why good? Well, what's your method of discrimination? From now, up until now, it was based on the self. But now the method of discrimination should be based on other. Is it good for them? As opposed to, is it good for me? So I think we move in stages from discrimination coming from the self, then discrimination being useful in relation to others, what's beneficial behavior, what's good for them, what's not good for them. But ultimately, then you would remove all labels. You wouldn't have any labels. You'd just know what the object was and the function of the object. So you'd say, water, flower, just like that. But for instance, if this water is poisoned, which is quite likely, would the Buddha know the water is poisoned? Would you still call it just water? Is the label appropriate to the base? So it's water, but if you put poison in the water, and there is a situation where somebody put poison in the food to kill Buddha. So I'm giving you a real example. So somebody put poison in the water. Now is the label just water appropriate to the base, if you know it's poison water? So then the label, goodness gracious, what happened to you? So then you know it's poison water. The label is poison water. Then can you say it's good water or bad water to drink in relation to should I drink it? Then it's bad water because you shouldn't drink it. So I guess in that way, we can use labels in order to benefit others, not to harm others, because you wouldn't want to just offer this to somebody and say, well, there are no labels anymore, so even though I know this water is poisoned, because I'm beyond labels, take the water, knowing it's poisoned. Then what purpose would it be to have no labels? No labels is when you're doing your meditation, you're starting to find the labeling mind. Oh, I really like this and I really don't like this. But can you function without labels? I think in conventional society, we have labels because they're useful for us. But do you believe in the label? Is the next thing to go to. So, are the labels beneficial for us? I think so. In that we just say table, flower, and we can communicate, we know what we're talking about. But more than that, we believe in the label. A really good person, a really bad person. If I say that's a really bad person, and I give you reasons for it, or even don't give you reasons for it, you believe in the labels I'm putting on that person. But it's only true from my side, from my point of view, from my experience, not all experiences. Just that one bad experience or 10 bad experiences doesn't make that person a bad person. It means they've done bad actions. So can you label actions good or bad? You should be able to, because otherwise you don't know what to avoid and what to promote. That's why we have the 10 virtues, 10 non-virtues. But then, like I said, we can turn everything on its head and say, these are good, these are bad, and now what we were saying was good, you should do, even though it's bad. Because the long-term benefit is there. So I think this is complicated because you move from a sort of child's understanding of things to a more evolved understanding of things. Your mind doesn't stand still. So in that evolution, we don't want to make trouble for you. And this labeling self is where you can get into trouble, because you put the label and then you believe in the label. But is the label true? It's only true for me, from my karma, from my point of view. So should we remove all labels? I think in a conventional way we can't. We have to have labeling. John, Mary, table, chair, flower, like that. But when we're labeling, that's a good person or that's a beautiful table, does it exist? Maybe that's where we should be going. Not removing table, but good table, beautiful table. I really like the table. I want to have that table. I'd love to have that, So desire and attachment. Then the label promotes more desire and attachment. Doesn't promote more happiness. The label can promote more delusion and more dissatisfied mind.